The high priest of punk rock is Malcolm McLaren, owner of a punk rock fashion boutique and manager of the Sex Pistols, England's most controversial and, therefore, best-known punk rock group.
We're at the moment in a country that is economically depressed, and out of the large unemployment figures, 60% are of the age of 18. And when you've got 60% of the unemployment of the age of 18 out of work and sitting around or hanging around the streets without a music that they feel is something that can capture their imagination and inspire them to go forth, you have a whole force that is basically with very little future. The teenage kids who follow punk rock in this country, in their style and form of dress is a total reaction against the packaging of youth clothing in this country. They are really concerned now with taking any form of clothing and making a statement with it by tearing it up, writing a slogan across it that suggests something of their own particular discontent. It's real. It's part of their everyday experience of fighting with police on the streets, of being thrown out of cafe or club because of the way they look, or their parents being out of work and inflicting violence in a pub on a Saturday night for just the fact that they might be a little drunk.
In that belief, punk rockers who call themselves the blank generation are no different from all the youth movements for 20 or more years. What is different is their reaction. Rather than drop out of society, they actively oppose it. And their best-known symbol is the Sex Pistols, whose lead singer calls himself Johnny Rotten. When it comes to being obnoxious, the Sex Pistols are champions. But thanks largely to outraged headlines and official disapproval, their records are among the most popular in England. So you could stand next to Sex Pistol Johnny Rotten. His group has done more than any other to keep punk rock in headlines and proper Britons in outrage. The Sex Pistols want to tour the United States, probably because they are banned almost everywhere in England. Despite that, they are still one of the most popular groups and their records bestsellers. But they are with their third record company in less than a year. Two large companies dumped them because of their public behavior, not because of their violent, destructive, anarchist lyrics.
I think our music is very honest. It's the most honest thing that's been happening in the last 15 years. Nothing to beat it.
This movement is basically working class. It's nothing to do with the arty fart middle class, we're all right trip, you know. It's basically working class from the roots.
We're doing something that's not ripping them off. We're standing up for them. We're standing up for ourselves and they can identify with it.
One way they stood up for their working class audience and got headlines was by vomiting all over Heathrow Airport in London. And there were some four-letter words thrown about in loud voices. That got their first record company, EMI, a subsidiary of Capitol Records, upset. But the airport scene was nothing compared to what would come next in 1 minute of a TV show for teenagers.
Their obnoxious behaviour is due to the boredom of television and everything else that this society has been brought about to hope that the younger element will be fairly satisfied with what basically is a boring life to them.
Marion.
Really?
You dirty son. You dirty old man.
Well, keep going, Chick, keep going. No. What was the rude word?
I'm going to complain to ITV.
The British press went into a rage. EMI fired the Sex Pistols, and one irate British viewer was reported to have kicked in his set. But the Sex Pistols were still in the headlines, punk rock was still popular, and there were records and profits to be made. One week after EMI dumped the Sex Pistols, A&M Records picked them up and staged a contract signing ceremony in front of Buckingham Palace. At this point, the Sex Pistols, despite having been fired, were not exactly suffering. Before EMI could get rid of them, it had to buy off the contract, and that cost the company a reported £25,000. And here they were signing a new contract that could make them a lot of money, and they already had a song to record for A&M in honor of the Queen's Jubilee. They did not record it, not at least for A&M Records. They never recorded anything for A&M. According to the story, after this happy signing ceremony, everyone went back to the A&M offices to celebrate. The four Sex Pistols apparently over-celebrated, tore up the office, scared the secretaries, and lived up to their public image of thorough obnoxiousness. Within a week, the Sex Pistols were back in the headlines. Fired again. But this time, A&M had to pay out a whole lot more to get rid of them. £75,000. The anti-establishment Sex Pistols called in the establishment press to protest what had happened to them.
You know, from my point of view, feel that we're like some contagious disease. You know, that is totally misunderstood. I mean, when you walk in and out of a company and the guy just gives you, look, you know, take this money and don't come back. What are you supposed to think about that?
Have you had the money?
Yes, they gave us the cheque last night.
You didn't believe it was on. You didn't.
Well, it just shows the hypocrisy. Yeah. Makes it very clear where their heads are at.
Nowhere. I was asking Dr. Mel
to give away that much money for nothing. Classic stupidity.
I'm just wondering, Johnny or Sid, if any of the other lads, if you feel that maybe your behaviour, you know, okay, you want to get your music across, but do you feel maybe the fact that you can't do that commercially is because of the way you behaved?
Oh no, I'm not going to calm down to their level.
We just do what we want to do.
But we don't really behave.
Disgusting.
We don't do anything bad, yeah,
that is dictatorship, and I will not tolerate it.
It was dutifully reported that the Sex Pistols might leave England, an announcement that met mixed feelings. But Virgin Records signed them, and Johnny Rotten got to record his Queen's Jubilee memorial song, God Save the Queen. It has been banned by the BBC and other stations, but it is today one of the most popular records in England.